Chapter 10 The Feast. Come with me to the Longhouse, Leaf said to Patrick. The feast will be held there. Maybe someone took her inside. They ran across the village. The Longhouse was much larger than the church. Patrick stuck his head through the doorway and looked around. The big room was filled with men and women. A gray haze hung like fog. It was hard for Patrick to see. He coughed and wondered what caused the smoke. Then he saw a fire blazing in a fire ring. It was at the center of the room. Some of the smoke escaped through a small hole in the roof, but most of the smoke filled the room. No one seemed to notice. Patrick saw a huge metal pot hanging over the fire. He thought it looked like a witch's cauldron. The Norsemen and Norsewomen sat on long wooden benches. They ate roasted fish and meat, and they drank from wooden cups. A group of men played bone pipes and wood drums. Young teen boys and girls sang happy songs. Others danced nearby. Patrick moved slowly among the crowd. He searched for Beth. A few men were playing board games. Eric the Red was playing a game against another man. Next to Eric was Hilda. Next to Hilda was Beth. Patrick couldn't believe it. There she was, sitting on a bench. A small crowd moved in to watch Eric and the man play. Beth saw Patrick and came over to him. "What are you doing here?" Patrick asked. "After you left, Hilda came to the church to check on me," Beth whispered. "Eric was with her." "What happened?" Patrick asked. "Eric ordered me to help cook," Beth said. "He wants me to learn to be a house slave. That way, he can sell me for more money." "But you're not cooking now," Patrick said. Hilda got upset, Beth said. "Eric isn't afraid of any man, but he's afraid of Hilda. She said she would keep me safe. I've been next to her ever since." "What game is Eric playing?" Patrick asked. "Chess. It's his favorite game," Beth said. "But no one likes to play him." "Why not?" Patrick asked. "Because they're afraid of what he'll do if he loses," she said. Patrick pointed to Eric's sword. The yellow jewel in the handle gleamed. "I think that might be the Sunstone. But I wish I could get a closer look." "I wouldn't try," Beth said. Suddenly, Eric slapped the table. Patrick and Beth jumped. The chess pieces bounced around on the board. "Checkmate!" she shouted. The man who lost stood up, bowed, and walked away. "Who will play me next?" Eric shouted. No one answered. He stood up and looked around. He saw Patrick. As he stared at Patrick's cape, his eyes narrowed. "Do you play, boy?" Eric asked Patrick. "No, sir," Patrick said. "What about you?" Eric asked Beth. "Yes," she said. Patrick was surprised. "You do?" he asked. Beth opened the small sack Mr. Whitaker had given her. She dumped the red and white chess pieces onto the table. Eric picked up the colored pieces. They seemed bright compared to the plain pieces he used. "Sit down," Eric said. "But I don't think I'm good enough to play a grown-up," Beth said. "Sit down," Eric said. It was an order. Beth obeyed and sat across from him. She looked scared. "A wager for our game," Eric said. "If I win, I will get the boy's silver cape." "What does she get if she wins?" Patrick asked. "You may keep your lives," Eric said. The people in the crowd laughed. Hilda stood up. "That's not fair, my husband," she said. "If she wins, she should get something." Eric groaned. "You are too kind to slaves. What does the girl want?" Beth looked helpless. "I don't know," she said. Patrick cleared his throat loudly. Beth looked at him. Patrick tilted his head toward Eric's sword. "Oh, I know," Beth said. "If you win, you get the silver cape. If I win, I get your sword." The crowd suddenly went quiet. Eric looked puzzled. "My sword?" "Child," Hilda said kindly, "that sword is a family treasure." "What would you do with the sword?" Eric asked. "It's too big for you." "I would keep it to remember you by," Beth said. Eric smiled. It seemed as if he liked to be liked. Patrick stepped forward. He said to Eric, "If you're afraid you'll lose..." "Lose? I never lose," Eric said. He pounded the table with his fist.